Certainly, both women and men experience gender-based violence, but majority of the victims are women and girls. In Nigeria, there has been an outcry over the unprecedented increase in incidents of rape and domestic violence in recent times. As I said, access to reliable data is a real challenge, and so it is difficult to say specifically the factors that are fueling gender-based violence, particularly in these challenging times. But recent increase in gender-based violence has been emphasized as one of the many consequences of COVID-19 restrictive measures put in place to contain the spread of the virus in several countries, including Nigeria. Well, given that more women and girls have been disproportionately affected over time, even before the emergence of COVID-19, it is logical to conclude that harmful traditional practices, gender-based inequalities, culture of impunity, culture of silence tend to increase vulnerability of women and girls to gender-based violence. And I must say that this is a reminder that violence is not confined to the battlefield. Women and girls experience violence even in their homes, on the streets, in places of worship, and in schools, and many other areas that are considered to be safe for them or that are supposed to be safe for them. We need to call a spade a spade. Gender-based violence is a human rights violation, and this needs to be addressed. It needs to end in our society. Most recently, we have seen wide condemnation of gender-based violence and some commitments towards ending this menace. And it is hoped that these commitments will be translated to actions very soon. The Nigerian Governors Forum recently declared state of emergency for rape. And the Federal Executive Council also included rape in their agenda. And there have been several protests, by different interest groups, particularly women groups, calling for enforcement of relevant laws and access to justice for survivors. But we need to remind ourselves that the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act is yet to be domesticated in all the 36 states of the Federation. So we need to do more. States that are yet to do so need to adopt a law as part of efforts to prevent and combat gender-based violence. As a matter of fact, governments should provide adequate resources to relevant institutions to ensure effective implementation of the provisions of the law. And given our current situation, there is a need to include essential services for violence against women in COVID-19 response plans. At the level of civil society, there's a need to do more. We need to intensify advocacy and campaigns and engage religious leaders, community gatekeepers, and relevant government institutions to remove bottlenecks that impede access to justice and accountability of gender-based violence survivors. Now, coming down to family level, I think mothers and fathers have a critical role to play in shaping, in shaping and promoting positive behaviors and raising their children to be respectful of others as they transition to adulthood. Both boys and girls should be trained to shun dehumanizing practices. And you will agree with me that community institutions have very important role to play in ending culture of silence and promoting zero tolerance for the stigmatization of survivors. By and large, women and girls are disproportionately affected by COVID-19 pandemic, and we cannot dispute that. But we should not allow the pandemic to take away the momentum for pursuing gender equality and the women, peace and security issues in any way. More than ever, the Generation Equality Forum, which is the new name of the Beijing Plus 25 Forum, should continue to gain relevance. even in the face of this pandemic, to ensure that gains made towards advancing gender equality and protection of women's rights in the last 25 years are not eroded by this pandemic. All hands must be on deck to harness opportunities to address structural inequalities. There's a need to invest in gender impact assessments and subject COVID-19 prevention and response policies to robust gender and intersectional analysis to ensure that needs and vulnerabilities of women and other underserved populations are timely addressed during COVID-19 and beyond the crisis. As a matter of fact, concerted effort must be made to ensure active participation and representation of women in leadership structure, and we need to continuously leverage on women platforms and networks to maximize impact of interventions and sustain peace and development efforts. I would say it is important to look beyond counting numbers of women taking part in decision making and pay more attention to the kind of women or the cadre of women who are involved. We need to constantly ask ourselves or find out who are the women involved and what position are they holding. I think this will go a long way to ensure that we are expanding access to opportunities for a diverse population of women and increasing the number and diversity of women in leadership. Also, we cannot overemphasize the significance of male engagement. Male engagement is critical to change norms and transform positive masculinities. So really, collectively, we should embrace opportunities to test new initiatives and innovative solutions to address gender inequalities, increase participation of women in decision making, and safeguard women's rights as part of efforts to speed up recovery and also build a more inclusive and resilient society beyond the pandemic. Yes, I would say this is a call to say no to all forms of violence, including gender-based violence, to promote peace and development in Nigeria.